Hey functional bodybuilding family, Marcus Philly here. I want to talk to you about the VMO squat or the Cyclist Squat. The Cyclist Squat shows up frequently inside of functional bodybuilding programs, and the reason why is that by putting our heels in an elevated position, which is what defines the Cyclist Squat, we can achieve a very, very deep knee bend squat that most people can't achieve without elevated heels. What this does is it's going to train and strengthen our knees, all the ligaments and tendons around this joint. It's going to give us access to a deeper range of motion, which is going to help us recruit even more muscles in our lower body than we would typically from a squat. This muscle, teardrop muscle right here, called the VMO, is going to get a lot of activity, and it's relatively easy to set up. I'm going to show you 4 different ways to set this up if you don't have a slant board. This would be my first choice, sold by Slant Board Guy, and we have a link to this one that can get you one of these cool functional bodybuilding persist or look good move well slants. But if you don't have that, then simply putting your heels up onto a surface like this is a 2-inch box, this can achieve a similar result. If you don't have a 2-inch surface but you got a set of dumbbells, you can put 2 dumbbells next to each other and you can put your heels onto the handles. Now with this, it's going to fix your feet at a certain width, so you might not find that very comfortable. Also, you want to make sure that your dumbbells won't roll away on you. And then lastly, you might decide that you want to put a weight plate on top of a dumbbell like this. This is probably the most precarious of all the options. It's a little wobbly, so you might have to spend some more time securing it down with additional dumbbells. I think this is a solid investment, and if you can make one yourself or you can invest and support this slant board company, that would be a great option for you and used a lot in our training. Now, the next thing I want to cover is that this movement is really all about the full range of motion, and that has to be prioritized always. You're going to see cyclist squats show up in the format of front squats, back squats, goblet squats, body weight, dumbbell, and there's always this enticing feeling of wanting to load heavier as you start to go through training programs. One of the problems with loading heavier through progressive training cycles is that it can lead to shortening of range of motion in an effort to lift heavier weight. The priority always has to be full range of motion on this. So as you start to load heavier in the, let's call it the front squat, the front rack cyclist squat, what has to happen every time is this full knee bend coverage of the hamstring over the calf in order to get the maximum benefit of this exercise. Now the cyclist squat, I have heard, and the feedback that I'll often hear is that, wow, this puts a lot more pressure on my knees, which it does. And it does so purposefully. So we don't want you squatting through pain in this movement. And if you do the movement regress down to the foundational level, you will improve your knee health, you will improve your flexibility, and you will ultimately get strong enough to start loading it later on without knee problems and pain. What does it look like to go to the foundation, the bottom level of regression for this movement? It looks like doing it in a supported position, whether holding onto a squat rack or holding onto a PVC pipe. You want to have maybe support on both sides. I could position this right between the squat rack and use as much support as I need to. The other key point of performance or technique point on the cyclist squat is I want you to think about keeping your torso really vertical. As people start to lift heavier, they can oftentimes find themselves shifting weight forward in order to leverage more of maybe their glutes and their hips to get them out of the hole. With the cyclist squat, whether it be a front, back, goblet, we're always trying to maintain a very vertical torso position throughout the full range of motion. So keep that as a point of performance as you're moving through your load progressions and your difficulty progressions. That's all I have today for the cyclist squat. I hope that helps you when you're working through some of your choices on what load to pick for this exercise. And if you're experiencing any pain or any niggles or tweaks, how can you regress this down to something that's very fundamental, just like the supported position that I just showed you. All right, good luck everyone.